Hey guys, welcome back to Reserved Investments on YouTube. And this video is going to be another infamous 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time rant, because I am filming this video at 1 o'clock in the morning Eastern Standard Time. Today, we're going to be talking about cancel culture as it relates to the antiques and collectibles trade in the year 2021, aka present day. Now, this is going to be a non-political video. I am not going to go off on a rant. I'm not going to mention anything about politics in this video. A lot of you guys are reaching out to me and you're asking me, Sean, what do you think about the Dr. Suess books that are being banned? Will they be collectible in the short term or in the long term? What about Aunt Jemima syrup and pancake mixes? Will those particular items be collectible in the short term or the long term? Sean, what are your thoughts on the long-term value of a Cara Dune Star Wars action figure since she was fired from the Mandalorian television series? Or what do you think about the Cara Dune Lego Star Wars minifigure and the set that she is packaged in? Now, before we talk about cancel culture in the year 2021, you got to kind of understand that products have always been discontinued throughout the antiques and collectibles trade. Manufacturers would make something and a toy company would say, you know what, this particular item, it just no longer serves a purpose. We're going to discontinue it. Let's look at anything from an Atari 2600 to a Cabbage Patch Kid to a Pog to a Beanie Baby to a certain brand or type of firearm. All these particular items were discontinued for one reason or another. Now, most of the items that we see today, whether we're talking about a Cabbage Patch doll, certain particular firearm, a Nintendo Entertainment System, an Atari 2600, or a Pog, or a Beanie Baby, most of those particular items were not discontinued due to controversy. Most of those items simply ran their course. Planned obsolescence came in if we're talking about the Atari 2600 and the Nintendo Entertainment System, and they were put to rest by their proverbial manufacturers for good reason and possibly a lack of sales. Now, this is important because if we go back to the 1970s, the 1980s, and we go to any pharmacy in the United States, you're going to come across a product that is known as Listerine antiseptic rinse. Now, if you're wondering why I'm talking about Listerine in a video about cancel culture in the antiques and collectibles trade in the year 2021, just pay attention for a minute because this is relevant. I'm going to even link it to what's happening in the year 2021. In the 1970s, in the 1980s, Listerine antiseptic was probably one of the most popular mouthwashes and mouth rinses on the market at that particular time. Listerine was still producing their product in glass bottles with a unique paper label up until the new millennium. Even when their competitors all moved on to an interesting product known as plastic and started packaging their mouth rinses in plastic bottles, Listerine held fast to producing their product in these distinct glass bottles with a paper label. Well, right around the turn of the millennium, Listerine started to transition to plastic bottles. And they did put out a news announcement or a media announcement about this, that they were transitioning to plastic bottles. And some crazy kooks out there, mainly hoarders, if you ever seen that show on A&E, yeah, these type of people flocked to pharmacies, flocked to supermarkets, and they started to load up on Listerine produced in these glass bottles. Now, today, these particular objects, as they're called, curiosities in the trade, are sold on the secondary market for anywhere from $20 to $50. So if you want one of these novelties of a bygone era when Listerine mouth rinse was produced in a glass bottle with a paper label, it'll cost you anywhere from $20 to $50 at your local antique mart, at your local antique dealer shop if they have any, or even on eBay. That's pretty much the going price. Now remember, the key term in all this is very few people that are normal save these particular products. It was mainly an item that already attracted the hoarder type mentality people and or the eccentrics. Most normal people, when Listerine announced that they're going to make their mouth rinse available in plastic bottles, did not run to the grocery store or the pharmacy to buy dozens of these now soon to be discontinued glass bottles. Now, fast forward to today, 2021 cancel culture, and certain Dr. Seuss books are no longer being published. Certain Aunt Jemima brands are no longer being manufactured. And also, of course, Cara Dune is no longer a prominent character in The Mandalorian, or in the Star Wars universe, I should say. So now we have starry-eyed speculators and collectors running to their local toy store, logging on to Amazon, logging on to eBay, logging on to Barnes & Noble, going to their supermarket, buying all these discontinued products, not realizing that everybody is already doing it. Now, I just want to state this to be fair. I understand that when we talk about discontinued Lego sets, certain discontinued Star Wars action figures, there automatically is a collectibles market for those particular items. So most likely, the Lego Star Wars set, which I think is the AT-ST set as it pertains to The Mandalorian, that contains the Cara Dune minifigure, most likely when that's discontinued, that'll automatically go up in value. But over the long term, guys, these are not valid investments in the antiques and collectibles trade, with one exception. If you happen to be going after first edition Dr. Seuss books that are no longer being published today in the year 2021, collectors who collect Dr. Seuss books want to own the coveted first edition of a lot of those classic children's books. Now, here's the problem. Those of you that are just logging on to eBay, buying any of the copies of the banned Dr. Seuss books at present time, if it's not a first edition, it's most likely not going to have long-term collectible value. You need to learn from this. Going back to the example with Listerine, the reason why Aunt Jemima factory sealed bottles of syrup and pancake mix aren't going to have value in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now is because, unlike what happened with glass bottles of Listerine, nobody is pretty much staying at home and ignoring this phenomenon. Meaning people are rushing to the store and they are buying dozen bottles of factory sealed Aunt Jemima syrups and pancake mixes. Now, this is completely ridiculous because it is counterproductive to how the antiques and collectibles trade operates. Just because a product gets discontinued and or outright banned or whatever the specifics are happening behind the scenes, you got to look at the fundamentals, guys. It doesn't mean the item is going to be collectible and valuable over the short term or over the long term. If you want me to do an expanded video on this, I could tell you tons of other examples like glass bottle Listerines that were discontinued that are not valuable today. Again, the reason why a glass bottle that is still paper sealed in the paper label of Listerine goes for $20 to $50 today on eBay is simply because people were not flocking to their local store to buy up dozens of those products when Listerine announced that they were starting to create that product in plastic bottles. So this is inherently different from what is happening with Aunt Jemima syrup, with what is happening with Cara Dune action figures and Lego minifigures, and also what is happening with Dr. Seuss books at present time. Please learn from this. The market fundamentals are not there that dictate a lot of these items have a collectible following well into the future. We have seen this time and time again, whether it's just through natural attrition that companies decide to discontinue certain products or due to public outcry. But make no mistake, there is no reason to be rushing to the store to buy any of these products unless you just want to own a Cara Dune action figure, or you want to own a Lego set that particular minifigure appears in. If you want proof, look up the value of Slave Leia merchandise as it relates to the Star Wars universe. Disney is not going to release anything with Slave Leia in it anymore. Does that mean the value of those products is going to continually increase on the collectibles marketplace? In my assessment, no, not over the long term and not to anything relevant, because there's too much of that stuff already out there. It is not something that has organic collectability. Thank you for watching and have a great night.